Assalamu alaikum, you're watching Views and News and I'm Faisal Rahman live from our Islamabad studios. Today we'll be talking about this very important story regarding the FATF. As we all know that after the overall meeting of the FATF Committee of Pakistan headed by the Minister Hamad Azhar and the FATF major group that was sitting in France headed by Mr. Player, he is the head of FATF. And finally, they have said that Pakistan has done a good job, but still a lot more needs to be done. And regarding that, the Financial Action Task Force has decided to keep Pakistan on its grey list, with the country's status set to be reviewed next at a plenary session in June 2021 that is going to be held after almost 3 months. This is the 4th time that Pakistan has been granted this. It further states that Pakistan remains under increased monitoring. 3 out of 27, and earlier these were 6 points out of 27, but this time they are 3 more that need to be fully addressed. We strongly urge completion of the plan by Pakistan. Then FATF, a publication says that FATF takes note of the significant progress made on the entire action plan. To date, Pakistan has made progress across all action plan items, has now largely addressed 24 of the 27 action items. All action plan deadlines have expired. The FATF strongly urges Pakistan to swiftly complete its full action plan before June 2021. And the Minister for Industries, Hamad Azhar, further states that FATF itself is saying that we are 90% close to achieving this goal. A lot of work has been done on the 3 points in which we are partially complained. In my eyes, we are close to being largely complained in these areas. And obviously, earlier, he also mentioned that there is no point that Pakistan could be placed in the blacklist. Most likely, we'll be staying in the grey. But a lot of effort has been done. And we all know that due to Corona, a lot couldn't be managed. But these 3 points, which we will be talking in our today's program, are really important regarding how to get hold of the individuals or perhaps certain institutions who are involved in money laundering or perhaps terror financing, and then whatever case has been made against them, and if it is sent to the court, what sort of a decision comes out, and those should be executed also. And at the same time, number 3, that what else can be done regarding keeping a very strong check as far as the transfer of money is concerned, and to make sure that that particular amount, because money laundering is different, terror financing is different, but terror financing is linked to money laundering in one way or the other, because when you are sending money abroad through the channels which are not appropriate, that means that there is something. One issue could be the taxes, the second could be the use of money at the end of the day. So perhaps a lot has been done, a lot more still needs to be done, and interestingly, this was also a part of our National Action Plan. So to talk about this, let me introduce you to our panelists. We have with us in our studio on my right is Dr. Kamran Naqi Khan Saab, Senior Economist and Strategist. Thank you so much, Dr. Saab, for your presence in our show. We also have with us Abdul Jaleel Saab, needs no introduction, is a Senior Economist and also a Public Policy Analyst. Thank you so much, Jaleel Saab, for your presence. And we'll be talking to Abid Hassan Saab, who is joining us on Skype. And Abid Hassan Saab is the former advisor to the World Bank. Thank you so much, Abid Saab, for your time as well. Now, let me put this first question to you, Dr. Kamran Naqi Saab. First of all, sir, I think Pakistan has done a brilliant job, despite all odds. If FATF and their management, they believe that Pakistan has done a lot better than before. And when we talk about the 27 points, they have, in fact, said that out of those 27, 24 in which Pakistan has done considerably better. And when it comes to the remaining 3, so they have given us another time of almost 3 months, and they'll be reviewing us again in June. Your take, sir. You think we have done enough, or a lot more still needs to be done?
No. We have, if we see, we have substantially progressed, and we have substantially and very objectively defended our arguments on the FATF. But Pakistan has also shown some of the concern which has recently presented by Mueed Yusuf, that regarding Indian terror financing, that is very important. Then in September, American crime network has identified 44 Indian banks. They were engaged in number of such doubtful transactions. So there are other institutions internationally. So when it started construing that the strategy of FATF is some are more equal than others. This is very strange coming up. Keeping in view the extremely good performance, despite the fact we have made a lot of progress on terrorism controlling, and we have a lot of sacrifices and monetary life sacrifices, shahadats, and more than $150 billion Pakistan lost in that particular, and Pakistan has made extremely good progress in that. If we see our banks, you see that transaction and everything is very controlled, monitored.
Absolutely.
Or now the queue time is little increased also, and it takes time. Our young force of the bankers who were inducted in the 2000, they are doing very well in terms of that. So that young blood is there, and they are doing very well. In terms of technology, yes, Pakistan has to do a lot of, we have to see blockchain introduction and very seriously taking modern technology to update our systems so that we can prevent.
Monitor the
but the point is that FATF should look as not a political institution or a political economic institution. Rather, it should be to see things on a very fair ground on every members on the watch list. Not only just Pakistan should be targeted, and so that their strategy should not be construed as a ploy strategy. They are moving with a perspective. They should have a clear perspective, FATF. So that perspective must reflect on the grounds also. Okay, other institutions, other countries, and other how India is financing the terrorism also, state terrorism. So why that has not been taken into consideration? Why that American network, crime network has identified those banks, and what about any? I don't want to name those international institutions and banks. They have finally identified that money was handled by some mobsters involved in heroin, more than $1 billion. So all those transactions on record on the papers. There is a lot of reports on. So it means
even
that
cricket, IPL.
Yeah, IPL, everything. I mean, this is the whole world is. If you see that there is a black market for black documents, stolen documents, fraud documents. That is more than 35 million documents are available in the. So these things have been identified by a number of agencies and those. As far as Pakistan is concerned, Pakistan has made very sincere and without any prejudice progress. And it should be taken into consideration that certain loopholes are there because of we are not compromising on our strategic interest. That is very important.
And so
that is strategic interest means that we should compromise on CPEC or something or other things also. That is not possible. That Pakistan has to see. So one thing very important, Pakistan has made a good progress regarding their recent visit of the Prime Minister to the Sri Lanka and bringing them to the CPEC and networking, establishing or increasing. So Pakistan's business transactions should increase. That is very important. And that if those transactions are increased, so Pakistan has a more clear picture on financial transactions. Right. As far as banks are, and then Pakistan has a very strong argument regarding Pakistan as a very strong Nadra network. And that Nadra is not only Pakistani are registered, but also aliens are registered. Afghanis and other refugees are registered on those. So Pakistan has established records. Very
Dr. Saab, do you think the Indians also have a similar kind of an institution like Nadra?
No, I don't think.
They don't have a very proper system like that.
Pakistan is providing assistance to Ghana and many other countries regarding Nadra is concerned.
Because I think we have had a great.
This is a very. So that's why I'm saying one of the weakness which I have observed that our banks are not standardizing on the technology, like thumb impressions. It takes some time. So central bank should issue a standard thumb impression machines and equipment because Nadra is using very heavily resolution
Absolutely,
oriented.
sir. I remember
Whereas bank is using very small.
Absolutely.
And it takes time. So service should be improved, and so that you can
Absolutely, and that is the right, place where you can actually, keep
So
an eye and you can.
When I was
everything
sitting
else
and
as
I told banks, you are making a lot of billion profits. Why you're not investing on technology? And that technology was there.
This is
And I
exactly
think
what
it's very
Prime Minister was saying the other day in
It's
Sri
very
Lanka.
crucial how you can prevent this.
Absolutely,
Right.
absolutely, doctor. Now, Esther, coming to you. First of all, let me talk about those 3 points, primarily in which, they've also shown a lot of concern, and they say that a lot more needs to be done. One, demonstrating that the terror financing investigations and prosecutions target persons and entities, demonstrating that TF prosecutors result in effective and proportionate and certain sanctions should be imposed, and on the behalf of the director of designated person entities, that should be monitored as well. And number 3, demonstrating effective implementation of the targeted financial checks, sanctions against all 1267 and 1373 designated terrorists and those acting for them or on their behalf. Now, 3 areas. Primarily, they're talking about picking up those people, executing them, and then making sure that all those who are related to them in one way or the other should also be kept under strict monitoring.
Sir, thank you very much. But what I see is that FATF is working among, within the context of lot of contradiction. If you try to see, for example, when they say that the government of Pakistan should pursue the action against terror financier or the terrorists itself. All right, this is a good ambition. Pakistan has taken a lot of action against them, and Pakistan has so much so Pakistan has gone extra mile to constitute anti-terrorist court to prosecute them as well, despite the fact that the Americans themselves and Indians themselves created a lot of problem for Pakistan by promoting terror financing in the country, and there are evidence which was submitted with the government of India as well, and they were circulated throughout the world, and we have got evidence as well, and that evidence was produced before International Court of Justice as well. And Kalbhushan, I am referring to the case of Kalbhushan.
Correct.
Right. The number one contradiction in the charter of this FATF is that it is acting in a very, very arbitrary and in a very restricted manner as well.
And why is that so?
That is why at times you feel as if it is a financial arm of the NATO forces. They are, this is how they are operating. Now, for example, on the one hand, they are asking us to take action, and they are asking the government to make sure that the courts carry out sentence, carry out prosecution as such. How the government and executive can interfere within the jurisdiction of the judiciary. On the one hand, International Human Rights Commission has always been pleading us that your judiciary is in fact not independent.
Or perhaps they are saying that when you prepare a case, make sure that it's prepared in a way that the culprit shouldn't get away.
Exactly. But their language was superimposing in this sense that you make sure they are courts prosecutes them. All right. It all depends upon the evidence, and evidence has been submitted time and again, and sometimes evidence is so weak. In fact, it was so weak that the court were left with no alternative but to release the release the accused, and this is happening all over the world as well. Number one, for example. And secondly, what Dr. was also talking, what we have to see is that they are out of 27, 24 has been 24 point has our conditionality has been fulfilled, right? In lieu of that, Pakistan, Pakistan have taken several steps to bring transparency within its accounting system, in financial structures, right? Number two, its banking laws, regulatory framework, they were updated. Now, if you want to register any NPO, in fact, you have to fulfill so many conditions that nearly it is impossible to get it done within the record time of 2 or 3 months. Sometimes it takes 6 months as well. And this is how the people of Pakistan are.
But this is the first time, sir. They have given you an extension.
How much problem they have created, sir? This is what I say. And when the question, when India is deeply involved, we have submitted evidence to them, and we have submitted these evidence before International Court of Justice and also in Security Council as well, right? Because Security Council, basically they follow the dictate of the Security Council as well. Now, then the President, when the question was put forward to the President of FATF, have you noted down the answer which he has given to the correspondent? He said that these are the incidents, we do not consider these incidents. How can you say that it is an incident? It's a pattern, there is a behavior in this pattern which is being repeated over the last 20 years.
Is it because India is based in France and France is too inclined towards India? I'll just share another very important information. I was reading a couple of stories regarding this particular decision that was made. And interestingly, there was this very interesting column, and it said that, when there was this question and answer session, and everybody, because it was kind of a webinar, people would raise their hands, 90%, rather more than 90% of the Indian journalists were given a chance to put a question, and not Pakistanis.
So,
see, even France and India started this when this ROI was established. The France insisted on.
Just imagine.
So outrightly, then how can you say that this FATF, the objective of FATF is to ensure stability of international financial order? They should talk about, they should admit this fact that we want to protect the Western financial order. This is how they are giving this message very openly and very candidly. I mean, you are trying to, if you have developed a global approach towards these issues, all right, Pakistan has been throughout, they have been helping them, right, throughout at the cost of a great, price, which we have been paying it. Look at those civilizational objectives, then they must see. The civilizational objective, it is the duty of the FATF to see whether our financial system is promoting this civilizational objective of social advancement, economic development or not, right? So many steps have been taken in this regard. Look at it. For example, NADRA, we have given the example. This is a very advanced institution in the world which identifies all the marks of a person, of a citizen as well. And every person in Pakistan now, every person and identity is fully preserved with it. It is very easy to find out. Firstly, and secondly, Federal Board of Revenue have taken a drastic step to document the economy, and wherever the flow of the money is immediately recorded by Federal Board of Revenue. Nobody have evaluated this. They said that this is a peer review. Peer review must be carried out on the basis of the evidence collected through the primary resources. Have they carried out these evidence from these institutions? Then we have taken a special step to modernize our accounting system. Now there is a networking of the accounting system which explains where the money is coming from and how it is being dispersed. As well. And the
money trail, basically.
Yes, sir. And I must say, a lot of credit goes to the expertise. So what I mean to say that the Pakistani manpower is qualified enough to run a well-governed, responsible financial
system. Absolutely.
Okay.
So, Abid Saab, couple of points. Initially it was said by the Foreign Office also and a couple of senior officials, and they said that if everything is done on merit, Pakistan is most likely going to get out of this list and will be back in the white list. Secondly, even our own minister, Hamad Azhar Saab, was very, very hopeful that most likely we'll get out of it. But out of 27, if compliance has been seen on 24, don't you think we deserved to be in the white list? And secondly, another important area was that Pakistan should not be pushed to do more, and they have actually done that. Rather, Pakistan should be assisted, Pakistan should be helped, and having said that, Pakistan should be given an opportunity to look into these affairs. Your take, sir?
Look, I don't know how much First, let me say that clearly there's a lot of progress has been made in the last 2 years by this government, and I think it's very good. Secondly, I mean, I'm hearing these other two guests of yours. I think this narrative that India is doing this, so why is FATF not going after India? Look, I don't care. FATF, all these global institutions, if they have singled you out, let's fix that problem. Let's not worry whether Ghana is doing this, Cayman Island is doing that, India is doing this. Let's not externalize an issue that is specific to Pakistan. That's one. Secondly, look, FATF is not some arm of NATO. I think this kind of narrative over public television, FATF is a global institution. Who are the people who evaluate? It's not some Indian sitting in Central Bank of India. The last evaluation, firstly, we are part of the APG group, Asia Pacific group, which are 39 countries, of which India is one. The people who do the evaluation, when they started in 2018, there was an external group. I mean, some central banker from Indonesia, there was a central banker from World Bank, IMF, Korea. There was no Indian on the people who came to Pakistan to agree with the government on an action plan and benchmarks how a specific action will be determined to have been achieved or not. So it's not some wishy-washy stuff. Each of those 27 actions have a benchmark indicator. That's one. Two, the last evaluation was done by 3 guys, 2 from Australia, 1 from Maldives. So I mean, some guy from the Maldives Monetary Authority. The point is, look, we are looking at, this guy from Germany sitting in France giving this statement. The statement given by the Chinese president when Chinese was president of FATF last year was 10 times stronger than this one. What made him do it? Did India pay him to give a very strong statement against Pakistan? No. These are international bureaucracies. They go by a certain framework. They are established benchmarks. And sure, nobody says life is not fair. Nowhere in the world life is fair. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, some countries may be treated differently than others. India is not within the high-risk jurisdictions that is under monitoring. When it is there, then we will worry about what India has to show to the world that, its banking system is rotten or not. At this point, our focus should be these 3 actions, and they're all, by the way, related to terrorist financing. All 3 of them. It's not money laundering, it's terrorist financing. So, the question, I think, the important thing is, let's not waste our energy trying to figure out who's doing what to whom in India and Afghanistan and USA and this and other banks and FATF is out to destroy Pakistan. That's not. Let's focus on these 3 things and just get out of this mess that we've created for ourselves in the last 20 years. And sure, I mean, our banking system, is now is much better. I think if we were to, bring in more technology. By the way, a lot of this is technology driven. So having some very bright bankers sitting behind desks doesn't help. You have to have very strong technology, which through artificial intelligence will sift out through all these terror financing. And a lot of terror financing, by the way, I think they're not talking of, maybe there's some money laundering happening, on terror financing. Within the country, you go to many places and people are out there collecting cash. How many times have we arrested somebody for collecting cash? So that's what they're saying. Look, openly, people collect cash for different things. So my take is, I just want to focus on these things, and I think government is on the right track, and get it done in the next 3 months so that this is behind us. And then worry about what India and the rest of the world is doing to Pakistan. So it's not, I don't know what foreign office has to say, they have no competence in this. India is just one member of FATF. There are 190 countries. And those who actually evaluate us is the APG group. It's not even the global FATF. When they go to the plenary, it's the APG group of 39 countries, which is China, Japan, Korea, Indonesia, Thailand, Sri Lanka, Burma, Nepal, Malaysia, you name it, Australia, New Zealand. So if all these 39 countries are out to get Pakistan, then we need to do a fair amount of soul searching. Why is it that 39 countries and the APG group are out to get Pakistan? What have we done to them that they've singled us out? It's not our issue. It's theirs. They are the problem, not us.
All right. Now, Abid Hafiz Saab, another important area. Since the head of FATF, Mr. Marcus Player, he mentioned that
job. Previous one was Chinese, Faisal. Read the Chinese guy's statement.
No, I'm just saying, what he said was that they remained, exactly these were the words, there remained some serious deficiencies in mechanisms to plug terrorism financing. So, if you talk about those deficiencies, would you like to highlight those, sir? Because we have got those 3 points, primarily they're about picking up those people who are involved and then, making sure that they get punished.
Look, I'm not a domain expert in what are the deficiencies of terror financing, and all this talk about we took this to the Security Council, we went to the ICG, has nothing to do with FATF. There must be some specific actions listed in these 3 areas, and I mean, unfortunately, a lot of these things, I don't know why they are hidden under the wraps. These should all be in open, open domain. What are these benchmarks that were established by FATF? The fact that people don't have access to these benchmarks, and you come up with all these narratives, that this must be India's doing. The point is, whatever these 3 strategic deficiencies, there are benchmarks. Let's just focus our energies on addressing those benchmarks.
All right. So we've also been joined in by senior analyst, Lieutenant General retired Talit Masood Saab. General Saab, Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
General Saab, thank you so much for talking to PTV World and taking your time out for us. Now, sir, first of all, your take on this decision that Pakistan is going to remain in the grey list as far as FATF is concerned, and they have, asked us to show more progress on the remaining 3 points, and primarily, about those 3 points, about getting hold of the individuals and later on making sure that they get punished and justice is served, and there should be a complete check on terror financing or, for that matter, money laundering. Your take, sir?
Well, I think although it was expected, because not that Pakistan has not done enough, in fact, Pakistan has done much more than many other countries which have never been on the FATF list. There is no doubt about it, and I think Pakistan's complaint about that is very justified. But the fact remains that, that they found some sort of a weakness from their point of view, and they tried to sort of pressurize Pakistan and have kept it in the grey list. The fact is that it is not possible for Pakistan. It has taken all measures as far as these militant organizations are concerned. It has banned them, and there is not a single militant organization which has not been banned, and government is working against them. But at the same, and put most of the leaders and a large number of them in custody. So I think, and cases are going against them in the court. So I think all that has been done. The fact remains is that it's not possible that when you dissolve or disband an organization, that you have complete control over every individual who was a part of that organization. It would take time. Pakistan is working on that as well to ensure that, the organization which has been banned, those people do not reassemble, they are rehabilitated, and the ones who are not incorrigible, they will also be punished, and they will be taken into custody, and Pakistan is keeping a very serious watch on them. So I think from our side we have done everything, but as I said earlier, and I'm sure the other colleagues must have said the same, the fact remains is that they want to keep Pakistan under pressure, and I hope that in the next review, Pakistan would be taken out of the grey list.
Now, Jalsa, one quick comment, and that is about the case of the Daniel Pearl. I mean, though one of the very senior analyst, Michael Kugelman, in his tweet said that it is not going to affect what sort of a status Pakistan is going to get, and he said that a few days ago. But he said that that is not going to make any difference. But having said that, that has become the major bone of contention as far as other analysts are concerned. They believe that the murderer of Daniel Pearl was acquitted. And obviously, as earlier, both of my guests said that, sometimes the court doesn't have enough evidence to charge you, or rather frame certain allegations against you. So let's throw light on that, Jalal Sahab.
Well, I think what has been said is correct in the sense that there was not much evidence, and that is why the courts were somewhat helpless and couldn't have taken action. But despite that, the government has kept these people under custody, and so in a way, it is trying to still see to it that and is going to appeal against the judgment, and are going to see to it that they are punished. But you can't go against the country's legal system, and if they have not been able to prove anything against them, then they have to be released. So I think Pakistan is in a dilemma in that sense, that the international community expects that these people should not be released, especially the Americans. And the fact that he did commit the murder and he did admit that, that has placed Pakistan in a very difficult situation. But nonetheless, the evidence at the moment in the courts, we also have to see that the courts are not influenced by any threat from their part. This is also a very serious matter, but I think the government has also taken precautions on that and ensured the safety of the judges.
All right. Jalal Sahab, thank you very much for your comments. Now, Kamran Nakil Sahab, would you like to respond to what Abid Hassan Sahab said, sir? He said, he's right in a way that we should focus on our problems. Why to look into that? Senegal has this issue of Morocco, for that matter.
Just Abid Hassan Sahab rightly said that, but the point is that Pakistan is doing on all these aspects. But terrorists are not operating just, these are the invisible operators, and they are operating from Afghanistan and India, and their terrorist financing is rooted through India. That is what we should take into consideration, that the dossier Pakistan has provided and evidence has been provided. It's not a narrative, it's a serious matter. And
but that's a separate case.
No, just I'm saying movement of the illegal money. What is the trail of that illegal money? Coming through Pakistan or coming whatever is, and we are not, we are prosecuting, why India is not are handing over those kind of criminals? Why not Pakistan, Afghanistan? Pakistan has identified why they are not handing over those criminals. So that is also important. So it is not, that's why courts needs evidences, and those evidences have a link. You cannot, justice not only be done, it should be seen to be done. So that is very important. Then what is the purpose of the FATF? Because that the purpose of is all the world transactions should be very visible, transparent, and there should be transparency in transactions.
Dr. Naqi, is it possible that since we have a huge gray area of economy, is it possible? No matter what sort of technology we have, can you stop Hundi Hawala?
No, you cannot. You can mitigate it, you can minimize it, but you cannot create a perfect world. That's what. Same is true with the Pakistan. So if
perhaps that is the reason Hamad Azharad minister just very categorically mentioned that he said Pakistan has been given the most challenging FATF plan. Is it true?
Yes. Pakistan has made a very substantial progress, if you see, very serious and substantial progress. Pakistan's strategic predisposition is not a kind of a ploy. What I am saying, ploy is a strategy that others are using. So Pakistan is coming up with a very clear and transparent plan, and Pakistan efforts are sincere, and that sincerity must be acknowledged. Pakistan is not maneuvering things, but the things others are maneuvering, that is undermining the whole spirit of FATF. That is my point. We don't need economists, we don't need we need a strategy now in this complex world. What is the strategy of this institution is to bring to advance the cause or perspective in a very positive and very sincere way, rather than it become a very tool like IMF and other things. So that world is now the world is not no more a unipolar world. It is not a bipolar world. It is a multipolar world.
Correct?
Yes. So that is what, and Pakistan is falling at a strategic location, and Pakistan's relation with the China and all these things are very much, and Shanghai Pact, all these things are not. Just see the what Macron said regarding vaccine on the in the G7 countries, right? He said there is a lot of fear, apprehensions that maybe Asia likely to take over this vaccine and everything aspects, right?
Yeah,
taking over.
Yeah.
So West is losing its the whole polarity is drifting towards Asia. That is the main concern.
The shift is towards the east for sure, sir.
Yeah.
It's very visible. Yeah.
Very visible. So the point is, yes, we should not, but at the same time, we should not remain silent, right? It's a very serious issue because it is undermining Pakistan's progress and advancement. We have lost more than $150 billion, and our economy was so fragile. Now we are recovering it, and we are making a lot of progress in export and other things. These are the hurdles which are kept back Pakistan from making an advancement in economic prosperity.
Correct.
So yes, technology, regarding technology, yes, technology is very important, and Pakistan should take it seriously. Third thing, he has rightly said that our mindset is very cash-oriented transactions. That is a very serious issue. That should be taken care, because one of the areas that has been highlighted is a real estate area, where most of the transactions are cash. Whereas according to the government of Pakistan's rules, more than 50,000 rupees transaction should be on papers through the banking, but still it's on cash. People are making the payment on the legal stamp paper on cash, and there is no check on it. The societies are accepting it. This is very bad. So these are the issues. Real estate is the issue. It's not real estate is the issue where we should stop this kind of cash transactions.
So primarily, even when you talk about legislations for that matter, sir, the government was ready to do so, but they needed a certain number, and the opposition was even doing politics on that, because not understanding that this is going to be for Pakistan, not for any particular party.
So when you have a bad norms, it takes time. So we have developed a bad kind of habits. So there should be a counter habit. Say there should be rules, there should be law, there should be. We should crack down on it.
That shift from cash economy towards plastic money or any other form for that matter, how documented,
like cryptocurrency, like I just give an example. It's still there is a trade on cryptocurrency. There is no regulation.
Bitcoin. Once the Tesla, they said that we are going to keep our $1.5 billion would be in Bitcoin. The price went up by 70% in this year. This is the second month.
It's not actually controlled by the.
It's over $50,000 coin.
It is not yet controlled by central bank. So there are a lot of
alternative currencies,
right? Alternative currencies, definitely. Those kind of things.
Who is going to put a check on Bitcoin then? I mean, nothing has been done so far. Now, sir,
my point is the institution should not move with a strategy which construe as a ploy. It should be moved with a strategy with a perspective, because it's we are living not in a technology world, it is a communication world.
That is what we want. Now, Jamil Saab, the authorities that have taken further steps, including the prosecution of Lashkar-e-Taiba chief Hafiz Saeed and his associates in terror financing cases. How important this case would be, sir? Because as they say, that seeing is believing, and earlier than that, Mr. Player was very categorical, and he mentioned that we want to see things changing on ground.
As far as the action against the so-called these terror organizations has been taken, in fact, they are being taken and being taken against individual, against the leadership, and against the organization for the last 20 years. And this is what we have seen, with a great result as well. Most of these religious outfits, I would like to say, or armed forces, they have been dissolved now, and they become quite ineffective as well, because their role has diminished from the national politics. Everybody knows it as well. And the West knows it very well. What I want to say, my big question is to Abid Saab is it a legal judgment or a paralegal judgment? If it is a legal judgment, it must fulfill all the principle of a jurisprudence as well. When Pakistan launches a complaint or files a complaint with them that we are not sponsored, this is not a state sponsor indigenous terrorism. It is coming from outside, from Afghanistan. The people are coming. They are bringing a lot of money in Pakistan. They have created underground terrorist outfit in our country as well. Many our armed forces, security forces, round the year, they are busy in having them. You know, what is happening in Balochistan is an eye-opener. And the government of Pakistan have submitted very hard evidence with United Nations, with International Human Rights Commission, and with other international agencies. Firstly and secondly, my question is, it's not a legal judgment. It's a paralegal judgment or ultra-legal judgment, executive order. If you, for example, no legal judgment can be given if no legal judgment holds any validity if it does not fulfill the value judgment. It must contribute towards the value. It is not contributing towards the value. It is creating, you know, unlimited problem for Pakistan. NGOs, Pakistan, NPOs, welfare bodies, they are being squeezed. And common man is suffering on account of it. Nobody has seen it into it. You know, they are trying to encroach upon our economic independence or economic sovereignty as well. And in this respect, we should be ready to fight on all fronts with all kind of a legal weapon in this respect. This is very important.
Correct?
Right? Firstly. And secondly, you see the representative structure of the FATF. Now, I was saying that India is represented only by virtue of a big size of economy. All right, we accept it. G20 has also been enjoying the status of a member. Regional economic blocs are also enjoying the status of an associate member. But Islamic Development Bank have got no representation there. OIC has got no representation there. Look at it. There are more than 50 Muslim countries there.
So and forget about that. I mean, even when you look at
the question is
the details regarding BCCI banks.
At least
that is again a huge concern.
No, BCC is different. They have given, all international, leading international banks has been given a representative, you know, they have been given a status of a associate member in this organization.
So what I've understood that, you know, FATF to a certain level is pretty biased against Pakistan, and they're not doing everything.
And then they say, what they say, when they give judgment, they say that
overall the mindset should be very, very pure.
I mean, this is a colonial instrument. We are not ready to accept this colonial behavior.
Where do we stand?
The question is that we should...
If they have got so many members...
you know, the fate of our destiny in this cannot be written. We will fight, and we will fight instantly.
All right, sir. Because I was told that we're running out of time. Abid Hassan Saab, Shahbaz Rana Saab, a good friend of ours, he's written an article in which he has mentioned that post 2008, primarily FATF grey listing has cost us 38